Here's my review of Werewolves. This is a movie where it is exactly what you would expect, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. If you want just a fun werewolf action like horror movie, you're going to get that. You're going to get it is exactly what it looks like. And I think that it does a good job of being exactly what it looks like. Because this movie could have easily just been complete garbage, but fortunately, or it either could have been just a really fun movie, and it was. So the basic premise of this movie is there's like this supermoon that comes like once a year that turns people into werewolves. And it's kind of like this purge kind of thing where it just turns everybody into werewolves and you kind of have to stay locked inside. And there's some really cool scenes of like the mutations of where they're turning into werewolves. And this movie does have quite a low budget, but I think that it uses its low budget to its advantage because when you do see the werewolves, it makes them feel even scarier because we don't always see them. And I think that it's a good thing that Frank Grillo is as good as he is, and because it allows us to care about the characters even when the werewolves are not here. And that's what I think this movie does so well. I mean, if you see this image and you think, oh, Frank Grillo shooting a machine gun at werewolves, and you're like, that sounds like fun, then you're going to enjoy this movie. Because I think that's one thing that could be at least I've always found kind of difficult to talk about when it comes to movies that are so simplistic, is there's not much to talk about other than the fact that I think what it does do, I think it does very well. I think that its goal is to have a really fun time. Its goal is to have some awesome, gnarly action. Its goal is to have some gory kills with these werewolves. And I think that it succeeds at everything it tries to do. And I really like the design of the werewolves themselves. One thing I always like is when part of me likes like the more Wolfman kind of look, but part of me likes how truly animalistic this one looks. Kind of like an American Werewolf in London style werewolf where it's just so big, broad shoulders, and less of the humanoid werewolves that you can see in other media. And like I said, we don't see these werewolves much, but just like the shark in Jaws, when you don't see them, it makes it all that more scarier when you do. And obviously, that's just a random comparison. This movie isn't even on the same level of a masterpiece like Jaws. But I think that it just proves that when done properly, a concept that's very simple can be used very effectively. Because, like I said, this movie is not trying to be the best movie ever. It is not trying to be some dramatic family tale. Although there is, I think, some good family drama in here. I think that's one of the things that this movie does do very well. Is even though it's not like the best movie in the world, there is some family drama there between Frank Grillo's character and his daughter that allows this movie to be more than just your generic run-of-the-mill action movie. It just allows it to be a little bit more. Not a lot more, but it basically brings this movie from just being a generic, dumb, fun action movie to a generic, dumb, fun action movie with some heart. And I think that's always the key to these kinds of movies is you could have the silliest premise in the world. And yes, it could always be a lot of fun. But if you add just a little something extra, if you add just a little bit more character development, a little bit of just these great, sweet moments between the characters, it allows it from going from like just an average run-of-the-mill movie to at least a pretty solid one. And I think that this movie did a pretty good job, especially with the dynamic between Frank Grillo's character and his wife and daughter. And I think that, like I said, if you want a fun, just action movie to watch, if you want to see some great, cool werewolf designs and some really, it gets pretty bloody. If you want to see some bloody kills, but also some pretty great characters, I think that you'll definitely enjoy this movie. It's a lot of fun. Not amazing, but it's fun.